It's very difficult to just play the game because you're leading your life. And, you know, everyone's private life has painful, difficult, challenging moments, and we all make mistakes.
Hollywood has a way of exposing everyone's secrets. Well, except this one. For nearly 30 years, Hayley Mills kept one chapter of her life completely hidden, despite spending decades in the public eye. Now, at 80, that silence is finally coming to an end, leaving longtime fans questioning how something so significant remained buried for so long. And the truth is far deeper than anyone ever realized. The sanitized sunshine, Walt Disney's golden prison. In 1958, film director J. Lee Thompson visited veteran British actor Sir John Mills at his country home to discuss an upcoming crime project called Tiger Bay. While walking through the garden, Thompson noticed 12-year-old Hayley Mills casually mimicking television commercials for her brother. Impressed by her spontaneous personality, he made an impulsive decision to rewrite the script's lead witness from a young boy to a young girl and cast her on the spot. The movie dropped in 1959 and immediately became a huge success. Meanwhile, Walt Disney's wife, Lillian, caught a screening in London while taking shelter from a sudden rainstorm. She was so impressed by this incredibly talented kid that she told Walt he had to see her. Walt, being extremely astonished, wasted no time setting up a meeting at the Dorchester Hotel and signed Hayley up for a deal to make 5 movies. Those films ended up totally shaping what family movies were like for the entire 1960s. Her American debut came in the 1960 classic Pollyanna, transforming her into an international superstar at just 14 years old. Her performance as the relentlessly optimistic orphan earned her the Academy Juvenile Award, making her one of the final child actors in cinema history to win the rare miniature Oscar statuette. Funnily enough, her parents chose not to tell her about the honor right away. Instead of traveling to the glamorous Hollywood ceremony, Hayley was sent straight back to her strict boarding school, while fellow Disney performer Annette Funicello accepted the trophy on her behalf. Again, in 1961, Hayley Mills really proved her box office clout with The Parent Trap. In this movie, she played both twin sisters, Sharon and Susan, which was a pretty big deal. The movie was a huge success, making tons of money for Disney and really making her seem like the perfect, wholesome girl next door. However, that super clean image she had kind of became a trap. Disney, working with her dad, was super protective of her wholesome image, and they turned down some more daring movie roles for her. Movies like Stanley Kubrick's controversial Lolita, Otto Preminger's Exodus, and the big musical Dr. Dolittle were all passed up. Well, even though she seemed super cheerful in public, Hayley actually struggled a lot with feeling alone and worried. Everyone expected her to be like the nice, innocent characters she played, and it made it really hard for her to just be a normal kid growing up. She felt like the studio was calling all the shots, caring more about making money than letting her grow up and be her own person. When she was 20, she decided she didn't want to end up like Judy Garland, who felt used by the studio. So, because she wanted to be free to make her own artistic choices, Hayley made a brave move and turned down a big new contract with Disney. While Disney sold the public an image of eternal sunshine, the reality behind closed doors was pushing the teen star into a silent, dangerous battle for control over her own body. The Mirror's Demons, the 30-year silent diet. When millions of fans looked at promotional posters for classics like The Parent Trap, they saw a vibrant teenager who seemed to have everything completely under control. Film studio executives, wardrobe stylists, and magazine editors all expected her to maintain that exact same youthful, slender appearance year after year. However, as Hayley reached her mid-teens, her body naturally began to mature. During wardrobe fittings for major studio productions, tailors often had to squeeze her into costumes designed for a younger girl, making her feel self-conscious about every inch of her changing frame. This normal physical growth suddenly felt like a career-ending crisis in a Hollywood system built on frozen childhood. The constant pressure to stay small soon triggered severe body dysmorphia, leaving the young star feeling trapped inside her own skin. Unfortunately, behind the bright lights of movie sets, Hayley began fighting a quiet and frightening war against her own body. She developed bulimia, a dangerous eating disorder that she struggled with for many years. At the absolute peak of her box office popularity, she lived in a constant cycle of panic over her weight, purging after meals in secret while trying desperately to keep up appearances. Every morning, she forced herself to put on the cheerful, energetic personality that fans around the world loved. This sharp contrast created a lonely double life. To the outside world, she was Hollywood's favorite girl next door. In private, she was a confused teenager dealing with deep anxiety and a complete loss of control. Also, in the 1960s and 70s, eating disorders were rarely understood or openly discussed. Film studios did not offer counseling or emotional support for young stars facing immense psychological stress. Fearing that opening up would shock her family, disappoint millions of young fans, and destroy her acting career overnight, Hayley chose to suffer in total silence. She carried this heavy secret for more than 3 decades before finally telling her full story in her 2021 memoir, Forever Young. Her road to recovery was gradual and required stepping away from the intense expectations of the Hollywood star system. As she took control of her adult life, she slowly adopted healthier habits, practiced mindfulness, and rebuilt her self-esteem from the ground up. Learning to accept herself as a growing woman rather than a permanent child performer was a major victory. She proved that true strength comes from self-acceptance, not from trying to satisfy an industry that demands impossible standards. Just as Hayley began fighting for control of her health, an unexpected romance on a film set would shatter her innocent image and ignite a national scandal. The 33-year age gap disaster. In 1966, 20-year-old Hayley Mills walked onto the film set of the British comedy drama The Family Way, determined to leave her innocent Disney image behind once and for all. The story focused on a young newlywed couple facing marital friction, requiring a grounded and mature performance that would show everyone she wasn't a child anymore. It was a bold artistic gamble for a performer trying to redefine herself on screen. But then, the most unexpected story was unfolding off-camera. During the film production, Hayley Mills fell deeply in love with the film's director, Roy Bolting. At the time, Bolting was 53 years old, creating a 33-year age difference that immediately raised eyebrows across the entertainment industry. To make matters even more complicated for the young actress, Bolting was still legally married to his third wife when their romance first began. The news of their affair sent immediate shockwaves through international media outlets. Newspapers and gossip columnists quickly seized on the massive age gap, turning their personal lives into daily headlines. Fans who still pictured Hayley as the cheerful girl from The Parent Trap were stunned to see her featured across front-page news alongside a director old enough to be her father. As usual, the public reaction was swift and critical. Media commentators openly questioned Bolting's motives, while studio executives feared the controversial relationship would permanently destroy her bankable box office appeal and ruin her commercial career. Still, in spite intense public judgment and career risks, Hayley stood firmly by her choice. The couple moved in together and eventually got married in 1971 after Bolting's divorce was finalized. 2 years later, they welcomed their son, Crispian Mills, who would later achieve fame as the frontman for the popular 1990s British rock band Kula Shaker. For a short time, they built a quiet domestic life away from the Hollywood spotlight. However, the ongoing media storm took a noticeable toll on her acting opportunities. Major film studios grew hesitant to cast her in high-budget projects, shifting her professional career toward independent European films and stage productions. Over time, the significant generational difference and constant public scrutiny began to weigh heavily on their marriage. The relationship that had once represented her personal independence gradually started to fracture under everyday pressures. After 6 years of marriage, the couple separated and finalized their divorce in 1977. In later years, Hayley reflected on the marriage with genuine grace, acknowledging the deep connection they shared while recognizing the unique challenges of building a home together under such intense public eyes. As her marriage unraveled, an even greater shock was waiting in a lawyer's office, one that would wipe out her entire life savings overnight. The pirate tax raid, how $17 million vanished overnight. On April 18, 1967, Hayley Mills walked into her family attorney's office in London, expecting to celebrate her 21st birthday by receiving complete control over her childhood fortune. Throughout her entire decade working as Disney's premier young actress, her father, Sir John Mills, and family solicitor, Stanley Passmore, had carefully diverted all of her movie earnings into a special financial trust fund. The primary goal was to safeguard her money until she reached adulthood, while shielding her income from the British government's punishing post-war tax brackets. Hayley had spent her entire adolescent years believing that a massive financial safety net was quietly waiting for her whenever she decided to retire from acting. Instead of receiving keys to her financial future, she was handed an official letter from the British Inland Revenue Service. The government had targeted her trust fund, applying an astounding 91% super tax rate on her entire lifetime of childhood labor. Her solicitor nonchalantly explained that the tax authority was demanding virtually everything she had ever earned. In modern values, her missing Disney fortune amounted to nearly $17 million. To make matters worse, Stanley Passmore casually admitted that he had missed crucial legal deadlines to restructure the fund before she turned 21, leaving her completely exposed to the catastrophic tax penalty. Refusing to surrender without a fight, Hayley Mills launched an exhausting multi-year legal appeal against the government. Her emotional roller coaster hit a brief high point in October 1972 when Master of the Rolls Lord Denning ruled in her favor, arguing that a child actor who already paid standard income tax should not be hit with an additional surtax. However, that victory was short-lived. The Crown appealed the ruling to the House of Lords, where the judges unanimously overturned Lord Denning's decision in 1974. The final judgment permanently seized her savings, leaving her with heavy legal fees and practically zero cash in the bank. In her memoir, she later described how state officials had plundered her hard-earned money like a horde of pirates. Suddenly broke and stripped of her childhood wealth, Hayley had no choice but to rebuild her life from scratch. With no savings left to fall back on, she immediately accepted touring theater roles, television guest appearances, and low-budget independent film projects just to cover basic living expenses, maintain a home, and pay off remaining debts. Step by step, the Disney princess rebuilt her career again, unaware that decades later, a silent medical emergency would test her strength once again. The double breast cancer diagnosis. Just as Hayley Mills was enjoying a successful career resurgence, starring in the popular television series Wild at Heart, in the spring of 2008, a routine doctor appointment brought her world to a sudden halt. On her 62nd birthday, medical tests confirmed that she had developed breast cancer in both breasts. After spending decades overcoming financial loss and steadily rebuilding her life as a working stage and screen actress, she was suddenly forced to face the most personal and frightening crisis of her adult life. Yet, true to her naturally private personality, Hayley made an immediate decision that she would not let her personal health battle become public fodder for tabloid news. While many public figures in the mid-2000s found their private health struggles splashed across celebrity magazine covers, Hayley kept her diagnosis completely hidden from news reporters and commentators. Shortly after receiving the news, she quietly underwent surgery. But when the subsequent chemotherapy treatments caused severe physical side effects, Hayley decided to take a much closer look at her recovery options. Working thoughtfully alongside her medical team, she chose to stop chemotherapy early and pursue a more balanced healing path. She combined standard medical care with holistic wellness practices, including major nutritional changes, gentle daily exercise, and natural immune system support. And fighting a dangerous illness far away from the public eye requires immense emotional discipline and personal strength. So, Hayley turned to daily meditation, stress reduction techniques, and positive visualization to help manage her anxiety during the toughest moments. Instead of letting fear control her life, she treated her recovery as an opportunity to clean up her daily routine and reconnect with the natural world around her. By keeping her inner circle small and supportive, she avoided the chaotic media circus that often surrounds famous actors during serious medical emergencies. That quiet environment allowed her to focus all of her energy on healing without the added pressure of outside opinions. By 2013, comprehensive medical scans confirmed that she was officially in full remission and completely cancer-free. In popular interviews with national outlets like Good Housekeeping, Hayley Mills finally decided to open up about her private battle, hoping her personal story would encourage other women to trust their instincts and prioritize their own health checkups. Having survived financial ruin and a life-threatening illness, one lingering ghost from her childhood remained unaccounted for. What exactly was that? The stolen Oscar and the memoir of reckoning. Now, let's rewind to the late 1980s. During a home renovation at her London residence, Hayley Mills noticed that the miniature juvenile Oscar statuette she had won for Pollyanna had mysteriously vanished from her mantel. For more than 30 years, she figured that special award was lost for good. This missing Oscar really symbolized a time when studio executives and her guardians called all the shots for her, while she was the one dealing with the intense pressure of being famous worldwide. After years of holding on to those difficult memories, Hayley felt it was time to take back her story and correct the record. In 2021, she released her memoir, Forever Young, revealing the tough side of the old Hollywood studio system. In the book, she bravely talked about her 30-year struggle with bulimia, how legal mistakes cost her a $17 million trust fund, and the emotional strain of keeping up Disney's wholesome image. She even called out the lawyers and corporate systems that didn't protect child actors back then. By owning her story, she finally stepped out of the public's old perception of her. Her extraordinary transparency deeply moved readers, fans, and film historians around the world. In early 2022, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences decided to honor her resilience by breaking its strict, long-standing policy against replacing lost awards. Academy representatives officially invited Hayley to their headquarters in Los Angeles, where they surprised her with a full-sized replacement Oscar statuette 62 years after her memorable performance. Holding that golden trophy as a mature adult was a deeply emotional moment. It wasn't just an award handled by PR people anymore. It was a real acknowledgement of a woman who had survived the industry's challenges. As she approached her milestone 80th birthday, Hayley kept sharing her life experiences with her sister, Juliette Mills, who is also an actress. They appeared together on shows like The Rosebud Podcast, where they fondly recalled their famous family, their beginnings in acting, their dad, Sir John Mills, and what it was like growing up in the spotlight. Their honest and humorous chats really connected with people who enjoyed their insights, down-to-earth views, and their strong sisterly relationship. Now, standing at 80 years old, Hayley Mills is no longer the captive child star of Walt Disney. She is the undisputed author of her own story. At 80, the reclaimed legacy of Hollywood's survivor. Most child actors from Hollywood's golden age just sort of faded away once their fame died down. But Hayley Mills showed that you can keep acting by being flexible. And also, she never really thought about retiring. Instead of just being a blast from the past from the 1960s, she spent a bunch of decades consistently working on British TV shows, touring in plays, and making independent movies. In 2024, she surprised movie fans everywhere by showing up in director M. Night Shyamalan's thriller Trap as Dr. Josephine Grant. She was this serious child psychologist who worked with the government agents, Seeing her own the big screen more than 60 years after she first started with Disney proved that her acting skills had grown into something mature, subtle, and really powerful. Away from the cameras, Hayley carefully rebuilt her personal life on her own terms. Following the end of her high-profile marriage to director Roy Bolting in 1977, she shared a long-term relationship with British actor Lee Lawson, welcoming her second son, Jason, in 1976. Though that partnership eventually ended, she found lasting romantic companionship 2 decades later. In 1997, while starring in a national stage production of The King and I, she met Indian-born actor and writer Firdos Bamji. Despite a 20-year age difference, the two hit it off and formed a strong connection based on their shared passion for acting and supporting each other. They have remained devoted life partners for over 25 years, choosing a quiet life together far away from red carpet drama. At 80, Hayley Mills currently lives comfortably in London, surrounded by her close family. She has a pretty chill daily routine where she focuses on reading, going to the theater, and spending good time with her 2 adult sons, Crispian and Jason, alongside her grandkids. Looking back on her long life, Hayley doesn't seem to hold any grudges about the money she lost as a kid or the strict rules of her youth in Hollywood. Instead, she looks at her life story with gratitude, a clear understanding of herself, and total peace of mind. Now that you know the hidden truth behind that famous Pollyanna smile, does watching her classic movies feel any different to you today? And do you think modern Hollywood is still making the exact same mistakes with young stars? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more content like this, click on the next video on your screen.